Easy E. How are we?
Shawnee, I'm back.
You're back from yet another trip away, big man. Another trip away. The weeks are counting down to the Cork Marathon. Are you ready?
I've more breaks than Steve Davis now at this stage. No, it's going good. I'm a bit nervous, but
You
this is
should
the
be.
thing, right? So we're in Rome for the weekend. My legs are in bits.
From
30,000 steps a day.
Oh, you walked up. I'm gonna butcher the name. When I try anyway.
Mount Vesuvius. Yes, Mount Vesuvius, the one that buried Pompeii.
Yes.
Yeah, we went. Now, to say I walked up it, that's a lie. The bus did most of the work, and then we walked up the last K. But it was still a walk. But 3.2 kilometers of a walk or something up and down. But yeah, up a volcano. So that's a pretty cool training session. I brought my runners. I had great intentions of going for a run. There was a gym in the hotel. It was part of the reason we booked it. But by the time I got back to the hotel, 30,000, between 25 and 30,000 on the clock in terms of steps. And my legs were shattered. I was like, I'm not going for a run. I'm going straight to bed. I'm absolutely smashed. But the worst bit is, I don't know what it is. It feels like I did no training.
Well, you didn't run.
Well, I know I didn't run.
So
I had blisters on the bottom of my feet from the level of walking.
Yeah, I'm with you. You did a lot in the legs, so maybe running wasn't the best option. But it's also normal to have that feeling after that weekend.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I know when we went the week before, we went to Poland, I mean, the Sunday, I had a silly amount of steps, but I still felt like crap on Monday because I know I didn't get that type of running in on a Sunday.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Or if anyone else shares this feeling, because if I was to go, right, I'm going to go and do 30,000 steps today, you'd be like, whoa, that's a big training session. Why are you doing that? I was like, no, I'm just going to walk it. You'd be like, geez, that's a big day out.
Yeah, it's that not thinking you're doing it. So, for example, if you do I used to work in a pub years and years ago, and I could end the day going, geez, actually, I can get time to get a workout in or a gym session in. But I'm after hauling in 30, 40 kegs and lifting them up and doing deadlifts. Well, keg is 90 liters of stuff. So doing a deadlift up certain amounts. So that's a workout, a back workout in itself. But because it's a means to an end for a job, I didn't consider it a workout. I considered it like that's just the work you did, even though it could be more intense than workout is, because I probably had to do it in a certain amount of time before getting back to, behind the bar and helping out and all that kind of thing. But you just don't think of it as work. It's that because there's a name that's escaped me now. It's a big factor in fat loss. It's more so what you do in the 23 hours outside of work. That's going to annoy me. That it'll come to me. Hopefully, it could be at some stage during this podcast episode. But there's a specific name for
music, and it might come to you.
Of the amount of calories you burn during the day, because you're not going to burn that much in a 1 hour session. Whereas if you're standing and moving stuff throughout the day, it's that accumulation of calories burned that'll help you to. It's annoying me. Hit the intro music. Let's go. I have a question for you.
Oh, go on.
This question was posed to me today.
For you. What's the name of that word you were thinking of?
I was really hoping they would just hit me down with that word. That's really annoying me.
But anyway, go on. What's your question?
Gone. So this was put to me actually last week when I was on the gym floor. If you're in a race, and let's say for argument's sake, it's a half marathon, somewhere not too long, too short, and there's a reason for that in a second. You're 3-4K into this race, and you have a time in mind. Let's say it's 1:30, whatever it is. You have a specific time in mind, and based on that day, that the way you're feeling, the way you're running at the moment, you're not on pace, you're just not feeling it. You're not going to hit your 1:30 or whatever it is, and the goal of the workout of this race is to hit that. Do you keep running anyway, and it is what it is, get back to it, or do you today is not the day? No point in training, no point in finishing this race. I'm done. And have you ever been in that situation before?
Yeah, when we were doing the 5K challenges, now it's not quite the half marathon because I don't know. I suppose my attitude is different when it comes to half marathons. Marathons, that is you kind of just accept that there is an on the day element. But for 5K, when you hit that 3.7K and you know you've got 15 seconds to make up the break to 20, then I just give all I can and see how close I can get, rather than, oh, well, I might as well walk now. You know, like I kind of mentally accept, I'm not going to make it. But then I suffer through that little element to go, well, this is what it feels like to suffer even this final little section of it. I suppose when you get into middle distance races, when you're talking about your 10Ks, your 10 milers, maybe into your half marathons, anything can happen. How you're feeling kilometer 1 is going to be different to kilometer 6. Take an easy run on a Sunday. I hate the first 7K. I absolutely despise the first 7K. All I want to do is go home. I want to stop. My body feels crap. Knees has niggle. All these other things. All of a sudden through AK, I'm like, this is fantastic. Weather's nice. Oh, look at that. There's flowers over there. And then all of a sudden the pace is dropping. There's a 5:30. There's this. So I wouldn't, especially in those kind of races, I wouldn't be too concerned through the initial phases. You know, if you say I need to be at this pace, then maybe you're just not ready to go there. Maybe just hold on. Maybe just relax, settle. And I always say to settle at what you have, because you don't know what's through the second half. You can go into people talking about negative splits and negative this. If you haven't done your research on the course, the first half could be uphill. You know, like there's so many elements across long races that it's all about just staying in the game and seeing how you finish. When you come through the 12K mark, through the half marathon, you're like, my heart rate's okay. I'm not carrying any injuries. I'm not going to crap myself. I'm in a good position. Let's see if we can knock 10 seconds a kilometer off. You know, then you're in a position to start going, it's not over yet. Let's see how close we can get. So that's just kind of how I play it. There is that point, like there was when I could have got to 350 in the marathon, I got to 352.
Yeah.
But I made peace with the fact that my goal was 4 hours and I was hurting to hold it and I didn't want to end up on the ground. And that was the acceptance of the 350's gone, but at what, how far has it gone? And 1 minute, 40 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever you want to call it round it. That's how far off I was to be comfortably hurting, but not willing to face plant over the finish line. And to me, after the 4 weeks of training, at 352, I was like, wow, that's good. I was happy with that. So that's where I made that decision across 2 minutes. But I didn't set out in the first go, oh no, there's the 345 gone. Sure, if I go around the 4.5 now, I'm done. You know, like it doesn't matter. Let's just get off the course. What am I even doing here? I'm going on the beer. You know.
Would that cross your mind?
Let's put a different. No. The finishing is always the priority. Time is just something that happens, and you know, like think of it on a cycle. Like I get a puncture on a cycle. Is that it? Get in the car, or do you try and fix your puncture and get going again? Except that your timings are gone, but then the aim is to finish. You know, and how far off? Because at the end of the day, like statistics, anything, we'll always justify things to ourselves. But at least when I cross the finish line, I can go, if I hadn't had that puncture, I would have broke the 440, or I would have, you know, like it's, you can blame the issue, but you were brave enough to stay in the game. Like we did Seat to Summit last year. My brother got a puncture in the first kilometer, the very first kilometer of the cycle. And I was like, I don't believe it. I seen him pulled in. I let him get a head start. I was fixing up the bags and stuff, kind of getting food and stuff ready for him, and so I could just have it handy for him while we were on the cycles and stuff. I caught up to him, and then I just seen a person pulled in at the side of the road. I was like, don't be him. Please don't be him. And sure enough, it was him. So he was cycling and trying to get with a half flat tire all the way. He was tired. He was burnt out. At that point, rightfully so, when we came off the mountain, he could have said, I'm just heading back. We'd lost 20 minutes on the crowd gone ahead of us. You know, like we were back at the pack, struggling on our own. There was no group mentality. It was his first event. He hadn't trained for it. All the hallmarks of why we should just cut this short and go home. But he stuck at it. And he came out with a story, and he suffered more than I've ever suffered in any race. But he still talks about how, you know, the best thing was not to just pack it in, like to have that perseverance, have that get up to say, or that a little bit of aggression to say, I'm getting through this. So timings, we were hoping for an okay time to go and watch the rugby, you know, like, but I suppose time is just something that's going to happen, and it's how you feel about it during it. That's, you can't. Personally, I don't think you can leave. I don't think you can bug out of the right. Like, it's, you paid your money, get your training session. That's ultimately what I think anyway.
But like, let's say that's a year later, and you've got the set time now, and you've done it before, and you're halfway through the course, and you're near, somehow it's looped back near the start or whatever. You haven't got that far to go with the bike. Bang, bike puncture. It's going to take 20 minutes, and your whole thing was to come down there for, it's that time. It's all about the time, and you're not getting it.
Yeah, but even still, it's a training session. It's not your day that day.
No, that's a great way of looking at it. I mean, to your point there, talking about earlier, I can't remember her name because I've been very bad with names and stuff so far in this episode of the podcast, so we'll keep that going. The girl who won, the woman who won the London Marathon. Like, there's videos of her near the start of it, helping people out with water and stretching her quads, everything else. And all of a sudden, she sets a 2:18. How I remember the time, not her name, I do not know. But it's just absolutely phenomenal that the second half, and she'd come back. You even hear the commentator saying she's stopping for a couple of seconds to stretch her quad. There's no use in doing that. She would have stopped for 30, 40 seconds. Forget about it. And all of a sudden, the next clip is her sprint to the finish line. Like, oh my God, she had that mentality you're talking about.
And even the commentary, like Paula Radcliffe, who was a legend in the game, was saying someone needs to tell this girl to just stop.
Yeah.
And then it's... it's just like, it's just proof, I suppose. The proof is in the pudding that if you just stay in, you just don't know how the second half's going to go. Now, there is that line. Now, but we're talking about a professional athlete, and which we are not. Like, I still need to go to work in the morning and fly a helicopter. Like, there's the opportunity cost of if I push and can't walk, I can't. Like, there's more to it for us. But it's definitely one that, unless I'm gonna really injure myself, I'm staying in the game. And I think that's how you should stay with anything else. Because, like, people don't get into these sports just because, okay, I get into it because the medals are nice, but you're getting into it because resilience. Endurance is all about what you can push, how you can mentally fight things. How can, when you're working your body hard, how can you find that mental capacity to keep pushing? And that resilient strength that we talked about over the last couple of episodes is probably the most important byproduct of any sport, even the 5K. Sure, like, that mental strength over 5K is one of the hardest, I think.
100% agree with 5K. Many times I wanted to drop, no, I'm not going to make the time. But I think it is that kind of, when you're halfway through a race, and that's why I said half marathon, the 5K, like, to make it back anyway, so you find a way to walk or jog it. But then there is that point where on longer races, like, oh, am I getting injured? Is this just pain or is this cramping? And it's more time to play in your mind. Whereas if you pull out now, you don't have that fear of a failure. Like, oh, my body gave out to me, my mind didn't give out. But did it really, or was it really your body? And not knowing that. There was did you see the viral clip of the basketball player Giannis Antetokounmpo last week talking about the fear of failure? Everyone's talking about it. My name dropping is awful this week.
Absolutely.
That's a hard name to say, though. I got better job not anything else.
Was this the clip where the media person was like, oh, you've fallen out of another semi or whatever it was? And then he was like, well, what have you done last year? Did you get that promotion?
Better something. He was almost going personal on that. You could see him keep pulling back because he got asked about it again. Like, the backstory to it is, his team won the championship 2 years ago, and then they didn't quite win last year. I can't remember when they came. Whereas this year they started the playoffs, and they were one of the favorites to win. They got knocked out very early to a 1 seed plays an 8 seed. So basically, the best team on that side of the conference faced the worst team, and the worst team ended up winning. So it was like, do you consider your season a failure? And he's like, and you can see him so. This is like minutes after losing the game, your whole season's over for another. Till October, what's that, another 5-6 months of just like thinking about this moment. And then a reporter who's done nothing is like, are you a failure now? And you can see him about to explode and trying to hold it back. But what he talks about is like the steps to success, that not every like, basically bring it back to running. Not every race is going to be your race. Not every race you're going to win. Not every race you're going to do great. There are those good races and bad races. And if you consider it a step to success rather than saying, like, if you never go back to running and stuff, and then you consider you could look at, oh, I stopped, never ran again. That's more of a failure point. Whereas there's always the next one to build yourself back and go up on.
Yeah, Yeah, it's actually a great clip. If anyone doesn't know it, it's definitely worth looking up. But it takes it people, because we're paying these sports stars to succeed. Success is expected, and anything less is a failure. And to some professional sports stars, that's exactly what it is. It's your Max Verstappens, and they get angry and they're snotty with people. You know, like it's that kind of persona. But what he says is it's sport. It is sport. Anything can happen. Do you know, it's horse racing. No one tells the horse he's 7-1. You know, like you look at it, it is just sport, and anything can happen. An injury can happen. You're pushing a body which is in essence a machine that can fail at any time. But you try and train it that it doesn't. And that's essentially why we love it, because there's always a drama to it. There's always something that's unexpected. It's a spectacle, and it always has been and always will be. But how many people were happy to see the underdog win? Do you know, everyone loves an underdog story, but yet these people just wanted to go, you're a failure. You know, like, so it's nothing about the success of the other team. You know, like a team of the 8 seed team just figuring themselves out and organizing themselves to take on the Goliath, you know, like the David Goliath. So you're constantly looking at all these stories that we love to hear through history, and then you're taking a pot shot at the favorite, going, oh well, you should have won.
Yeah. You know, like, that's what you love about sports, when the favorite doesn't win and the underdog somehow triumphs.
And that's it. And any neutral will always cheer for that. But I suppose then when you bring it back to yourselves and ourselves, and we talk about me trying to break my own record for this, that, and the other, I have to have the underdog story for myself. You know, like, I can lose 6 times, but that's expected. I expected it because you're on the underdog. I've never done it before. But that one day I win, it's a great story. You know, it is an achievement. It's something that I didn't expect of myself, even though I wanted to do it. I didn't think it'd happen today. I was feeling come away from running. Everyone always says the day they passed the driving test is the day they drove the worst, because they just doubted themselves, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you passed. It was like, what? I didn't expect that. I took that. You just kind of get into a flow. You don't even know if you're there or not. You don't care anymore. You're just getting through it, doing what you have to do. You're sticking to the theory that you know and the plan, and then all of a sudden you're there. You know, like, and that's the idea behind it, I suppose. And that's like success. Like, what is success? And that's always one of the questions. Like, what standards or KPIs, or, you know, what are you setting to yourself to say I am successful at this? You know, for me, someone who can run 5K every week for the year is successful, because they've said, look, I'm gonna do it, and they do it. You know, that's success, and that only breeds some more good things as well. So, but it's a great watch. It's great at putting things into perspective, because we do expect so much from sports. Like, I watch Liverpool, and every time they lose, I'm disgusted. I want to sell every player. You know, like like, he's a professional. How can he not cross the ball? You know, like, it's the same. But I suppose even the professionals hang in. You know, you've never seen someone really pull up in the Olympics, even though they're having a bad day. Do you know, and all
unless an actual injury,
unless it's an actual injury, And for a lot of them in the local circuits, it is the profession as well. It is like, if I screw myself, I can't cash in on the European or the national championship. You know, like, there's there's a lot of that there as well for them, that it is their money as well. So but
I think it just goes to I think you hit the nail on the head there. It depends on what you define your success as. So we could say 5K, you did it in 20 minutes. To one person, that's an unbelievable time. The other person, they normally do 15 minutes. It's different. And it's having that. It's how you approach going out there and putting yourself out there. How do you accept that potential for a failure in a race? Do you just pull off the course, you know you're not there? Or do you go for it and go, hey, it's not my day, get back up and go again? Or do you never do a race in the first place? I think it even comes back to, at the very basis, saying whether you are a runner or not a runner, because you don't feel like you're at a certain standard when there's no set standard for being a runner. You just run. Yeah,
and I actually had this little weird thing when I was setting up a LinkedIn. Apparently LinkedIn is a very big thing these days. So I was setting up a LinkedIn, and it was like, write stuff about myself, and I was like, oh, I better put in something sporty. And I was like, well, I'm doing Ironman, but how do I say I do Ironman without sounding like, because I've never done one, you know, without being an imposter. And I was like, full hog, triathlete, done. But my point is, and again, it comes back, even still, even though we preach it, I still can't put I'm a runner on the thing, because I don't know, maybe it's like I can say I'm a pilot because I get paid to do it. So therefore it must be true, like, whereas I train every day and I still don't believe I do it, even though like it's mad. So yeah, even just putting those little things on, just to kind of, what is success? The fact that I can show up to the start line of a triathlon and complete it. Therefore, triathlete, not professional, but I can do the 3 disciplines. Like, so it's an interesting one. It is. It's a bizarre concept, but then it's maybe the Irishness as well. They're not willing to say these things as well. So yeah, it is bizarre.
And it's easy, like, I suppose it's easy to say this logic and speak rationally, and now as we are in the podcast, but I know, I did an event last month, and I've got another event coming up in a couple of weeks where I'm like telling people I'm going for this, and the back of my mind, like, absolutely shitting a brick of mine should be like, this may not even be possible. This is just like, whatever. I give you another example, the Art O'Neill, like, not doing that, finishing that, getting my do not fit DNF and missing the checkpoint by over 50 minutes. Like, I probably said all the right words on Instagram and stuff and felt all right, but then when I really thought about it, I was like, that's absolutely shit. Kind of like, because I had different standard. People like, oh, geez, you went all night, you kept going, you never gave up. And like, I was like, oh, fair play to you. Like, how did you not give up that stage? I was like, well, where was I going to go? I was in the middle of a mountain, middle of the dark. I can't just stand there and wait for someone to collect me. There is no road to pick me up. Like, I just got to, like, I never thought about not finish the race. My mindset was completely different. It was just get me off this damn mountain and we'll find a way from there, And it's just my interpretation of it, where if I heard you did that, I'd be like, oh my God, fair play for keep on going. You can see in your Strava, you're not going that fast, but you're definitely moving in different directions and stuff. So fair play for keeping that motivation and stuff going. But I think sometimes we could be our harshest critic on it, and sometimes it prevents us from getting to that starting line.
Yeah, and that's it. And showing up is the hardest part. Putting on the shoes is the hardest part. Getting the bike out of the rack is the hardest part. Everything you do after that is a bonus, and then it just depends on your success meter. But you have to be realistic as well with what's going on, especially for female athletes. It's far more complex to see what kind of a day you're going to have, depending on which cycle you're on, or like, it's so more complex. It's absolutely amazing the level of complexities that they deal with to just show up and what kind of day they're having. We have it so much easier in that sense. Then it's just a case of, am I I speak for me, am I tired? Am I, did I have an off week? Have I been eating right? I can usually narrow it down to those 3 things as to why I'm not giving my 100%. So yeah, it's like, you have to be realistic with goals, but also be realistic of the goal relative to the lead up. Like, even now we say about talking about doing things like Cork is scaring the bejesus out of me now, to be honest. But like, I've got a tough 4 weeks ahead, and I have to be churning out 5Ks minimum a day. Like, it's going to be busy in order to at least get to that start line, and it's scary. It is scary, and for someone who's done a couple of marathons and is happy to put on runners and go for a run, I'm actually terrified. Even talking about it now, I'm getting a bit sweaty thinking about all the work I have to do. But it's that's part of why we do these things. That's fear.
The thing.
You call it excitement, I call it fear, because it is fear.
It's both.
100% fear.
Attitude excitement.
But then once you're there, the crowd, your armpits are sweaty, you're not even running, like, there's adrenaline pump, and once you get settled into it, it's like, right, what do I have to do to get to that finish line? And that could be anything. That might mean I have to walk every 50K. That might mean I have to do this. That might mean I have to do that. But regardless, I will not be doubling back on myself. I will not be getting the Lewis. I won't be getting anything else. At the end of the day, walk, crawl, the finish line is there, and then we talk about what happened, then we post-mortem what happened, and then we look at the last 4 weeks and go, yeah, maybe I should have done 16 weeks training. Maybe I wasn't cycling as much as I was the last time I pulled off a 4-weeker. I can already think of all the excuses, but it is just that reality of the goal. Like, for me, just completing Cork is a big achievement, and that's a reality of it. Just to get around in one piece is a big achievement. But this is coming from someone who wants to do a 3:15 at some point in his life, so yeah, it's just the realism of it, I suppose, is the important thing. That's success. So for me to just take someone's challenge, go to Cork, unknown territory, make it through 42.2 and go, all right, did that. Success.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's that fear of the unknown and what's going to happen is what I could say drives me to races. But at the same time, when I get started in the line, and I'll tell you it's excitement, but it feels like it's something else coming out the other end. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen in this one. But that's my advice. Like, no, don't do something silly like, hey, do an Ironman in 3 weeks' time. But I think at some stage you should set yourself up for a race that just scares you a little bit. We're like, I don't know for sure if I can do this. And those are the best feelings ever when you cross that finish line.
Yeah, there's two things. I got an email on Saturday. I think I was halfway through a nice pasta ravioli or something along those lines. But I got a reminder from Ironman that it was 6 months to the Ironman, and I was like, oh my God, I've only got 6 months to train for this.
That wasn't food sweats, was it?
No, that wasn't food sweats, but it's also a nice indicator of how long is 6 months. You know, I've been in some pretty bad and rough situations, and that phrase of this too shall pass. You know, like time is an amazing thing, and 6 months is a long time. It goes by in a blink when you're trying to look back on it, but like 6 months of training, and if you can add in consistency, there's probably not a lot of people that have done anything consistent for 6 months. You know, like it's, and that's being honest, there's only a small percentage of the world in marathons. So how many people are actually doing these things consistently, you know? So I'm confident I'll get to the start line. I'm scared. I don't know how it's going to go. I hope I make the cut off the finish. I suppose that's the best thing I can hope for. But yeah, it is, I suppose, it's like anything. Is why do you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to work? It's, well, you like to get paid, and everyone has that fear of failure or losing their job, or, you know, like, there's only a couple who are like, I don't care. But same reason, why am I getting up at 6 to go for a swim? Well, there's that fear of being in the middle of an Ironman and getting a kick in the head and nearly drowning. You know, like it's that fear of being embarrassed, that fear of embarrassment of the DNF. Like, you're used to it. I'm not, you know.
But that's why I sign up for races where the majority of people DNF in.
yeah. No, but it to, like, no jokes aside, like, but it takes bravery to sign up to those races. It takes a certain amount of, okay, let's go to a place I haven't been. The like getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that's exactly what it's all about. And eventually, look, people will take on the first marathon, people are getting back into the half marathons, and then they're going to get comfortable, and then it's the next step, and it's always to see where you're at, and in terms of, and look, you can only get better. The byproducts of that uncomfort is only positive. Better stress development, you know, like you can deal with things. It's, you know, I've found myself, now I have a busy brain. I'm one of the busiest brains in the world. We'll talk about things, and it's like a third person in the room with me. You'll actually hear him walk in, be like, Eric, a story. You know, like it's I'll be thinking of ideas, I'll be thinking of this, I'll be thinking of that, I'll be having conversations with myself, lunacy basically. But, you know, like there's previously, before we got into this kind of things, there was a lot of things that I would lose a lot of sleep over. A lot. Right. Like more nights than I would care to imagine, because I'd be stressed about what he thought and she thought, and should I have said this? I still do nibbles of it, but they soon disappear after 12K. And then I couldn't give a crap what he or she, or it doesn't matter anymore. Like, right. I don't care. Now my priorities: get water, have a drink, have a shower. And then I look at things with a different perspective, because I'm like, look, it's not that bad. Do you know, it's because that energy is gone. And that's me. That's that high energy element, the busy brain, the active thinker, the overthinker. And the way I've really found I've combated that is through these endurance sports. So how can I worry about those kind of things when I have to go swimming? You know, like, I have to go swimming. Right. But there are times when that builds up, and life can be busy, and something has to give. And sometimes you get between that rock and a hard place, and training is, you know, you're trying to juggle all of the things. But yeah, that's success for me. Like, we look at my last 5 years of doing this kind of thing, I've got a lot of headspace from doing it. And look at success and development, I think that it has been quite a successful development of me. Like even this podcast, you know, like the byproduct of just doing what we do is giving me a big soapbox. You know, like it is good. It is good, and yeah, I suppose people just need to think of that success, you know, and then say, well, actually, I am a runner. I've done this for the last 5 years. I've done this for the last 6 years. I'm out every Saturday. I bring the dog, you know, like I run. Yeah, that's my hobby, you know, and accept it and embrace it. And choose your own success.
100%. Yeah, on that note, I can't really summarize it any more than what you just did there in that one. If you're afraid of something, go do it anyway. No, that's it. Summary.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, on that bombshell, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast. That's it from myself and Eric. Take care.
Ciao, Bella.
What?